All right, let's talk about one of the weirdest things about the internet. At its core, it's incredibly forgetful. Today, we're going to dive into how PHP gives a website a memory, transforming it from just a flat page into something dynamic and interactive.
You know that feeling, right? You're online shopping, you toss a bunch of stuff in your cart, you click around a dozen other pages, and somehow it's all still there when you come back. How does the website remember what you wanted? Is it magic? Well, kinda. It's the magic of good programming.
Because here's a surprising truth. On its own, a website has the memory of a goldfish. The technology that runs the web, called HTTP, is what we call stateless. This means every single time you click a link, the server basically says, "Who are you? I've never seen you before." It forgets you instantly. So developers have to use some really clever tricks to give the web a memory.
So let's start with short-term memory. How do we make a website remember you just for your current visit? This whole concept is called state management, and luckily, PHP has some awesome tools for the job.
Our first tool is something called a session. The best way to think about this is like when you go to an amusement park and they give you a key to a locker. The website does the same thing. It gives you a temporary private locker on its server. You can stash your stuff in there, like your username or the items in your cart, and as you wander around the site, you always have the key to get back to your things. It's safe, it's secure, and it's on their turf.
And using this in PHP is actually super easy. First, you tell PHP to get the whole system running with session start. That's like unlocking the door to the locker room. Then you just drop stuff into this special SUSISON variable. And when the user's all done, maybe they log out, you run session destroy. Boom, the locker is cleaned out, ready for the next person.
All right, tool number 2 is the cookie. Now this is totally different. If a session is a locker the website owns, a cookie is more like a loyalty stamp card that the website gives you and you keep it in your wallet, or in this case, your web browser. So the next time you visit that website, you automatically flash the card and they go, "Oh, hey, it's you. We remember you like dark mode." It's stored on your side, not theirs.
In PHP, you create a cookie with the setCookie function. You give it a name, a value, and this part is key, and expiration time. You can check what's in your cookie jar using the _cookie variable. And the funny part is how you delete one. You just set its expiration date to some time in the past, like yesterday. The browser sees that and just throws it away.
So let's put them side by side. The big, huge difference is where the data lives. Sessions are on the server. They're safe, secure, and can hold a lot more data. Cookies live on the user's computer. That makes them way less secure because the user can actually mess with them, and they can only hold a tiny amount of information. So, rule of thumb, sensitive stuff like a login, use a session. Simple preferences, a cookie's fine.
Okay, real quick, there are a couple of other little tricks. You've totally seen a query string. It's all that gobbledygook in the URL after a question mark. Yeah, PHP can just grab that info using superglobal_get. Then you have hidden fields in forms. They're invisible to you, but they're great for sneaking some data along when you hit submit, and PHP nabs that with _post.
So we have all this data, but how do we package it up to send it between the server and the browser? We need a common language, right? Think of it like a universal translator for data. And on the modern web, that translator is JSON. It's just a simple, text-based way to structure information that basically everything understands. It's easy for us to read and a piece of cake for computers to figure out.
And the best part? PHP makes this ridiculously easy. Got a PHP array you want to send? Zap it with JSON encode, and it becomes a neat JSON string. Got a JSON string coming in? Hit it with JSON decode, and it pops right back into a PHP variable you can use. It's a perfect two-way street for your data.
Okay, so sessions and cookies are fantastic for short-term memory. But what about the stuff that needs to stick around forever, like user accounts, blog posts, product catalogs? For that, we need to upgrade from a sticky note to a full-blown filing cabinet. And this is where we bring in the big guns, MySQL databases.
So what is MySQL? It's one of the most popular databases on the planet, and for good reason. The filing cabinet analogy is honestly the best way to picture it. But don't think of a small cabinet. Think of a massive warehouse of filing cabinets, all perfectly organized, where you can find any single piece of information in a fraction of a second.
And that analogy breaks down perfectly. The entire database is the filing cabinet itself. Inside, you have tables, which are like the big drawers, each labeled for a specific type of info. A user's drawer, a product's drawer. Inside each drawer are the rows, which are like individual folders, one for each user. And on each folder, you have specific fields written down, like name or email. Those are your columns.
Now, when you create these columns, you have to tell the database what kind of information is going in there. These are called data types. So for a whole number, you'd use int. For text, you'd use varchar. For a date, you'd use, well, date. This is super important because it keeps the database organized and working really efficiently.
So, we have our PHP code running the website, and we have our MySQL filing cabinet storing the data. How do we get them to talk? How does PHP actually open the cabinet and grab a file? This is the last crucial piece of the puzzle.
Getting PHP to talk to a database is always the same simple 4-step process. Step 1, connect. You open the line to the database. Step 2, query. You send your request, an instruction written in a language called SQL. Step 3, fetch. You grab the results the database sends back. And finally, step 4, close. You hang up the connection. Connect, query, fetch, close. That's the pattern every single time.
And here's what that looks like in actual code. It maps perfectly to our 4 steps. First, MySQLi_connect opens the connection. Second, MySQLi_query sends our SQL order, select name from users, which just means get me the names from the users table. Third, MySQLi_fetch_array grabs the data that comes back. And fourth, MySQLi_close shuts the connection down. I'm not kidding, this simple pattern is the engine that powers millions of websites.
And there you have it. We've just put together the essential toolkit for building websites that can actually remember things and manage data. Let's do a quick run-through of the key tools we've covered.
So what's in our toolkit? For short-term memory, we have sessions for secure server-side stuff and cookies for simple client-side things. For sending data back and forth, JSON is our universal translator. For that permanent long-term memory, MySQL is our digital filing cabinet. And to make it all work, PHP uses that simple 4-step process: connect, query, fetch, and close.
With these concepts, you now have the power to create so much more than a static page. You can build login systems, shopping carts, content platforms, a website that remembers, that interacts, and that's actually useful. The forgetful web is now yours to command. So, the only question is, what will you build first?